Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Nick.
And you're listening to It Takes Two, the podcast where two people take two movies with the same plot or premise and watch and discuss them.
And in this episode, we're back on the remake train. It's only two movies this time, even though there is a bunch more. It's the original and the greatest, because the other movie is awful.
Oh, I thought you were saying the original and the greatest, and then those were the two we were covering,
No.
and I was like, excuse me?
Yeah, no. So 1968's Planet of the Apes and the awful 2001 Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
Too many apes, not enough planet.
Yeah. I mean, two planet.
Two ape.
Two ape.
Too far. Starting off in the beginning, it began with the apes and ended with the man.
Excuse me?
I saw Planet of the Apes 2001 at the movies, and there is a burned-in memory of going to the movies because we were bad children, and I would say bad, I mean poor. And we used to get snacks from the supermarket that was across the road from the movie theatre and sneak them in. I had bought a block of chocolate, among other things. I don't remember the other things, I just remember the block of chocolate. I went to go to the bathroom before the movie started, and a little girl who was with their parent or parental guardian was laughing at me when I came back in, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And my mates at the time were like facing away from me because they couldn't look at me, and they'd stolen and hidden all my snacks.
Oh, I literally thought you were going to say it looked like you shat yourself. I thought you were going to say you had sat on the chocolate and it was all over it, and then you went to the bathroom and came back out and it looked like you had pooped all over yourself.
Why is that where your mind went?
I assumed that's what... Because you were very specific about having a big bar of chocolate and then going to the bathroom, and then people not wanting to make eye contact when you came back. I assumed you just had chocolate stains all down your ass and they thought you shat yourself. I'm genuinely... That was like a twist ending because I thought that it was going to be that you shat yourself. Well, no, that it looked like you shat yourself.
Right.
Not that you actually did.
Okay.
That would have been fun. That would have been a fun twist ending if you were like describing this chocolate and you were like, and then I shat myself.
The movie was that bad. That would have been a more entertaining ending than watching that movie. Yeah. When did you see either of these movies or both of them?
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like because the OG.
Yeah. Original gangster.
Yeah, the original gangster. I feel like it's one of those movies that I maybe had never seen the beginning of. You know what I mean? Like one of those
ones you're like skipping through a television show.
Yeah, that you flick
like...
onto it. I've probably seen like the end of it a bunch of times. Yeah. You flick on, you're like, oh, it's Planet of the Apes, a classic. I'll watch the rest of it. And I'm not sure if I've ever like intentionally sat down to watch Planet of the Apes before. Yeah. So this might have been the first time, or else if I have seen the beginning of it, it was long enough ago that I don't remember it. But it definitely would have been something that, like, you know, the first time I saw it would have been sometime in the 90s on TV.
Yeah.
Showing on RTE2 or something.
Right.
The other one, I probably also watched it on TV, to be honest.
Okay.
I was only 10 when it came out,
yeah.
So I was not going to see it in cinema as a 10-year-old.
I think it's R13.
Is it?
I think so.
Makes sense.
You wouldn't have been allowed in?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely went to movies that I shouldn't have been. I did lie about my age at the cinema a surprising amount. And
we never even got questioned because we were like in a small town with like half the time there was like 3 other people in the movie theatre, excluding like the group of friends that I used to go to the movies with. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like I've talked on the podcast before about like bringing my cousin to see movies that were for ages 15 and up when we were 14, and me lying about my age, or me lying about both of our ages.
Yeah.
Because she was too afraid to lie, and then like when they'd question her, she'd panic and it would be very obvious she was lying, and they'd just be like, okay, whatever, just go in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I saw it in cinema, and I don't think it was something that I like rented or whatever.
Yeah.
And it definitely wasn't something that we owned. So I imagine I also saw it on TV.
Okay.
Because that was around the era where I
Yeah.
like looking at teletext to see what movies were on the 6 channels I had.
Teletext was... Wow, you had 6 channels. So fancy.
This is the early 2000s, okay? So that's not, there were more channels back then.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I feel like it was like we had RT1, RT2, TV3, Channel 4, and I don't know. Maybe there must have been others. Yeah. I know there were 14. Like Channel 4 was number 14 on my TV, but like there all the other numbers in there were not necessarily actually showing you channels. Like it would skip between them. So I don't know how many there were. Anyway, this has got nothing to do with the movie anymore.
I think it's got everything to do with the movie. Which one do you like better?
The original.
Okay. Which one do you think has a better cast in it?
The original.
Which movie?
Oh no, actually, hang on. Sorry, that's mean. There are actually some really good actors in the remake.
Yeah, everybody except Marky Mark. The hate crime.
So you've already gotten there a little bit. I was gonna say
Mark Wahlberg is a piece of garbage.
No, what I was gonna say is I can understand why they cast Mark Wahlberg in this movie. I'm 100% on board with the casting because they have a character who is arrogant, stupid, useless, talented, and racist, and
they picked Marky Mark.
They were like, this guy doesn't even have to act.
He is all of those things.
That's just who he is.
Now, if Mark Wahlberg's PA or someone within his entourage hears this, tell him from us, you're a piece of shit and you committed a hate crime.
And multiple hate crimes.
Yeah.
And served 45 days in prison only for it. Now, I will say, I acknowledge, because there's some falsities around his hate crimes, because it was widely believed that, even by himself, I think, that he blinded a guy. The guy had already lost his eye because he was a war veteran in the Vietnam War. And he lost his eye in war, and Marky Mark committed a violent hate crime, assaulting a war veteran from the Vietnam War because he hated Vietnamese people for unknown reasons.
Because he's a racist piece of garbage.
And I do know that the guy himself has said, like, I forgive Marky Mark. I don't give a shit. He still did it.
Yeah.
He still, like, assaulted multiple Vietnamese men, like, violently assaulted, injured, and with intent to harm and potentially intent to kill people based on their race, and then only got 45 days in prison, and then immediately launched a music career and an acting career, and is now his net worth is like 145 million or something.
Yep, that's what you get. Charlton Heston's not great.
No, that was something interesting I found out researching these, and the way I found that out was not through seeing anything about Charlton Heston, but through seeing something about Tim Roth, which was that Tim Roth has outrightly said that he would not have agreed to be in that movie if he had been told in advance he was going to share a scene with Charlton Heston.
Interesting.
Because he is so adamantly against everything he stands for and outspoken against lack of gun control and gun violence and things like that, and stuff that Charlton Heston supports.
Yeah. From my cold dead hands.
Yeah. So Tim Roth very staunchly not a Charlton Heston fan and made it very clear, I think, across all press for this movie that he was unhappy that Charlton Heston was in it, even though it was a remake of a movie that Charlton Heston was in, and that he had to share scenes with him.
Here's an interesting fact that I didn't know until just now when I was looking. I feel for Tim Roth because he was originally supposed to be Severus Snape.
He would have been a cool Snape, wouldn't he?
And he was just like, no, I don't want to be in that kids movie. I'm going to be in this cool remake with Tim Burton of Planet of the Apes.
And it would have been and also Gary Oldman was considered for Thade in Planet of the Apes. They are people whose careers have followed each other for a long time. But also, good on him for not getting involved in a movie series that ended up, it turns out that the person who wrote those books is a massive bigot.
Are they?
J.K. Rowling?
Oh, right. I was like, what?
Yeah.
The guy who wrote Planet of the Apes?
No. I'm saying he didn't get involved with the Harry Potter. He did get involved with Planet of the Apes.
And it sucks. Well, it sucks. It sucks because I know there's a lot of people out there who have a special place in their heart for Harry Potter. And when your creator's a piece of garbage, and if any of the PA team or the entourage of J.K. Rowling says, you can tell her from us, you're a piece of garbage.
Yeah, 100%. I will stand by that to the day I die. J.K. Rowling, I don't know how we've gone on to this, but just in case anyone does not know, because people don't know, I very much am in spaces online and in person that have a lot of queer people, and this is something that gets discussed, and I understand that other people are not seeing that. So for anyone who doesn't know, because this is actually really important to me, J.K. Rowling is a person who not only is extremely bigoted, extremely transphobic, extremely misogynistic, weirdly, but has actively used her money to harm people, to harm trans people, to harm other queer people, to get funding removed from queer organizations and LGBTQ charities, and also has pledged to use any money that she gets from the Harry Potter franchise to continue to do that. So if you are a person who enjoys Harry Potter, I'm very sorry. I also was a person who enjoyed Harry Potter. I read all the books. I queued up for midnight releases. I saw all the films. But I will not interact with any of that ever going forward. It is something I want to totally avoid, because every cent that you pay towards her is actively harming queer people.
Yeah. And most of them are children. That's the other thing.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff happening in the world politically. And, you don't have to agree with everything on both sides, realistically. No one ever, if everybody thought the same, we would be a hive mind and the world would work in a better place. But we're not. We're all different. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different parents. We all have different countries, religions, creeds, cultures, race. We're all different. The reality is hurting children is not acceptable for any capacity, even if you don't agree with their beliefs.
Yeah, and it's a thing where death of the author gets brought up a lot, but here's the fact of the matter. With, for example, someone else who is a real piece of garbage, H.P. Lovecraft. If you like reading H.P. Lovecraft's books, great. You can separate that this is a man who is absolute garbage. I'm not going to go into it. If you want an example, look up the name of his cat. Very famously, not a word I'm going to say.
Yeah. We'll be cancelled instantly.
The podcast will be taken down. But horrible person, but you reading his books does not contribute to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The person's dead, then it's some publishing company or somebody who owns the rights to his property getting money.
Yeah. And and that can happen. That can exist with things for example, we just watched Planet of the Apes, and I do not want to support Marky Mark.
Yeah.
He's not getting anything from that.
Yeah.
He's had his paycheck 23 years ago.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling, if I go out and I buy a Harry Potter book,
or
if I buy
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yes. If I buy a game, a Harry Potter, if I buy a mobile game, if I buy anything, Harry Potter mobile games, they exist. Okay. There are multiples of them.
Gross.
If I buy Harry Potter merch, if I buy, a little notebook with Harry Potter stuff on it, if I buy stationery, she has licensed all that stuff. She gets money from all that stuff. She uses that money to hurt people.
Yeah.
She uses that money to perpetuate her bigotry. She uses that money to literally commit... basically, she does commit hate crimes.
Yeah.
Not in the same not in the violent way that Marky Mark did. But, not in the physically, immediately violent way, because there is still violence that comes from it. but on a much larger scale. She is harming so many people. And a hate crime that she did commit recently was denying the Holocaust. Because have you heard about this?
I honestly, things that make me angry, it's just easier to stay away from them.
She claimed that at no point during the Holocaust were any queer people targeted.
Oh,
They were the first people targeted.
Yeah.
They were put into camps. They were,
It's interesting because... it's interesting because, I know we're off track, folks. I'm sorry. We'll get back there in a second.
Yeah, we'll get back. I mean, we started off talking about Mark Wahlberg, who is a piece of garbage person who commits hate crimes and is racist, and now we're talking about J.K. Rowling, piece of garbage. Person who commits hate crimes and is actively transphobic, queerphobic.
Yeah, and if you know what happened during the Holocaust, it wasn't just... people of Jewish descent that were targeted. It was also the people, I think the correct term is travellers now, but they weren't referred to that at the time.
Romani?
Yeah, Romani. Any undesirables seemed... Anybody who weren't, again, like I said, the hive mind of, we are superior, therefore everybody else is garbage, which, honestly... does kind of fit the theme of these movies. Yeah. We are coming back to folks.
And again, on that, this policing of history.
Yeah.
One of the first things that happened in the Holocaust before we got to a point where they were taking people and putting them in camps was burnings of books, which was very famous, but the first person or one of the first people whose works were burned was a person who had written a lot of academic material about transgenderism and about transitioning and about gender dysphoria and things like that, to the point that all of the research that we had about anything from that aspect of queer history was erased.
Yep. And there is a famous quote, and I'm going to butcher it right now for you, just in my own personal way. People who burn books end up burning people.
Yep.
And we kind of feel like, I wouldn't say we're getting back there, but it does feel like we're getting back there.
Yeah. And J.K. Rowling is definitely on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
So again, I apologize. If you are a fan of Harry Potter, I hope that this is...
everything. Steal all the Harry Potter merch.
Because I don't want to take away from anything good you have gleaned from that franchise, but it's very hard to separate the art from the artist when
they're still getting money from
it. When they're still getting money from it, but also if you critically look at those books as an adult now and go, oh, she made a race of goblins who love money. Oh, she named her one Chinese character Cho Chang.
Yeah, she named the one Irish character whose whole entire gimmick is everything explodes.
Yeah,
the racism wasn't that well hidden.
Yeah, it's oh, wait a second, the books actually have a lot of racism ingrained in them, which is unfortunate, because there are elements of those books. I mean, on face value, that it's about being a person who is an outsider and doesn't fit in and has to, work through this. And it's something that a lot of queer people actually related to. And then to find out that this is, that was the person who, that's what her thoughts were, is very upsetting.
Yes. And again, like the characters in Harry Potter, the idea of superiority and, basically miswriting of history continues on with the movies that we're actually supposed to be talking about. We've gone on a big tangent here. And, if you enjoyed the tangent and want to hear more things like that, in the show notes down below, you can join our Discord and join the conversation there. And if you disagree with us, that's fine. We are not totalitarian. We accept everybody's opinion.
But there is, we do accept everybody's opinion, but there is the whole, paradox of tolerance thing.
Yeah.
Where if you if to be tolerant, you have to tolerate people who are intolerant.
Yeah.
Then they're
then
going to
you become Twitter, and I refuse to call it what Elon Musk calls it. It's Twitter. You tweet things,
but that
X
leads to the intolerant ruling everything.
Yeah.
So while we do welcome opinions that differ from our own, I would not be I'm not going to speak for you, but I would not be a person who is happy to tolerate intolerance.
Yeah. Okay. To the movies at hand.
Yes. So Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
So movies about historical revisionism.
Yes.
And about,
control over one group, and why are the apes the bad guys? Oh, that's right, because the humans aren't in control, and that's pretty much it. When the world gets flipped upside down, and it is you who gets spanked by the monkey, no one likes it, which I think's ironic because it's just humans. It's here's a mirror, motherfucker.
It's weird because in the original movie, there's so many clear allegories for Catholicism, or I guess for oppressive religion.
Yeah.
So not necessarily Catholicism, but it does feel like that's what they were aiming for. But lots of religions have people who use those religions to be oppressive. Where that's, it's all about their belief of, this is the way the world is, and if you question that, you are wrong and will be tried as a heretic, basically. And yeah,
there's a lot of talk of heresy related to basically anything before their sacred texts. There are a lot of paradigms towards Catholicism.
Yeah, I think the reason it struck me as Catholicism was this idea, that
the sacred texts.
Well, there's a sacred text happening in all sorts of religions, but that it's, there's a line that Dr. Zaya says at one point where he says, science is in line with the sacred text. Like he basically is saying that, you can be a scientist and believe in science, and that lines up with your religion.
Yeah.
It's the argument of evolution versus we all came from Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Creationism.
Yes, creationism. And they're in a stage where they believe that creationism, essentially, or the equivalent in this world, is scientifically accurate.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to question that. But also, we kind of, spoiler alert, it's pretty obvious Dr. Zayas knows that that's not accurate. That he knows that that humans used to be more intelligent creatures, and that they used to be
it's the last scroll. It's the last Dead Sea Scroll that he's got in his pocket. But that's at the end of the movie. And in the beginning of the movie, it's a very interesting beginning. They are on an experiment, and the experiment is very similar to Lisa's favourite fictional character, the astronaut known as John Crichton.
No!
He got shot through a wormhole and ended up on the other side of the universe.
No, so that really only happens in the
I know
the remake, the 2001 version.
So yes, they're in a which is an interesting theory, because that's basically it's, I would say, euthanasia rather than the because you're basically killing yourself in a way. Not in a physical way, but traveling at the speed of light for a year.
It's a suicide mission.
Yeah, it's a suicide mission.
They know they're not going to get back to Earth.
Yeah, well
or not back to the Earth that they left.
Yeah, and it's Charlton Heston's character says some pretty dark shit. In regards to the only female
That's
crewmate
what I was
dying.
gonna say.
It's just she would have been our Eve, and it's okay, well, if that was your plan, why did you only bring one woman and three dudes?
They messed that up.
Yeah, George, you're
you need at least two men, and then
it's 144. Someone did the numbers.
Oh, you need 144 people?
You need 144 people.
Okay.
To continue the human race without the... and it has to be very... in the beginning, it has to be very, very well documented and planned out.
Yeah.
Due to, the risks of inbreeding.
Well, the risks of inbreeding, though, also are dependent on those people having genetic defects. that then, like, if the, you know,
yeah, but you,
or the risk, or whatever, which is, you know, you can have people royal families who have inbred for centuries.
Yeah, and have you seen the photo, like the paintings of them?
No, but you can have a line where people are inbreeding and it's not making, you know, what you're suggesting, where they're going to have deformities and things. It's
yeah, but like, what are they going to just like hope that they have a female and then the other male, like, who's
it's stupid.
40 years older, like breeds with their child and then hope that
no, it doesn't make any sense. They would. I mean, even at like the bare minimum of they don't care about inbreeding and shit, like, and you know, presuming that these humans have had, you know, because I was gonna say it's future. It's not. It's the 70s, so it's stupid to begin with.
I think it was the future.
No, it was set in the 70s.
Oh, that's right.
The first one.
Yeah.
The other one was set in 2029, same year as Terminator. But
yeah, the far future, 1972.
Yeah. But presuming that like their idea is these are like people who've been genetically tested and have nothing wrong with them and blah blah blah, they still should have like 2 dudes and at least 4 women. you know.
Yeah, if that was the original plan.
Like, it doesn't make sense. It'd be 1 woman and 3 men.
Yeah.
And then it's just strange. It's just bizarre because like the way they treat women in this movie is
awful.
Horrible. It's exactly how J.K. Rowling would want women treated.
Yeah, mute and treated as basically just...
Mute and just things to breed with.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, they do have, obviously, Dr. Zira, who is a female scientist.
Who's treated like garbage within her own society because she's like, these people clearly aren't just animals. It's the fact that we treat them like it.
But even then, she's kind of stupid and a little bit annoying.
Spoiler alert, everybody in these movies are stupid.
True. Absolutely true.
Planning a suicide mission when you travel at the speed of light for a year.
I mean, there could be reasons for that. You know, but you'd need to be able to get the data back to Earth, and it doesn't make sense to travel so far away that, like, Earth
Not
is
to mention
dead.
the fact that, like, yeah, exactly, like, the fact that they think they're on another planet.
Yeah.
The second fact that they travel, 3,978 years. That's the year date.
Yeah.
As we saw recently, you know, still in the old grey matter there, a pandemic could have wiped us out and they would have come back to a barren Earth, or, you know, solar flare could take us back to the Stone Age, global warming, all these things, nuclear war, that was pretty much on everybody's mind, but sort of, you know, the Ruskies, got to stop that communism, pretty mindset for Charlton Heston. It's very strange that he was like, we're from a more superior time where I hope everybody gets along.
Well, this is the thing. He's in both movies. The main character is an arrogant piece of shit.
Yeah.
Which is why they cast Mark Wahlberg. Because they were like, we don't, you know, we need someone who we know guaranteed can be an arrogant piece of shit. So let's cast someone who just is that. Yeah, it's... I don't know. I mean, I've just read a book that does involve someone going on a suicide mission at almost the speed of light to very far away from Earth.
Yeah.
And very good reasons for it. But there's no reason explained in this.
It's just a test of their test of their own devising.
Yeah, but
almost very similar to John Christ.
What are they testing? If it's a test, no, because these guys have purposely gone there. They're purposely gone really far away.
Yeah.
So, like, they knew that it was going to be hundreds of years. So, like, what's the point in doing a test that you're not going to get the result of for, like, 1,000 years?
Yeah.
This makes no sense.
It's very similar to that movie we were talking about the other day.
Which movie?
The movie that isn't going to be released. Oh, sorry. No, we weren't talking about the movie. I apologise.
What?
Don't worry. Ignore me.
I won't ignore you. We're recording a podcast together.
Right. So, me and one of our listeners were talking about a movie that won't come out till the far future.
Okay.
Anyway, where was I going?
What's with this movie you're talking about? Tell me about it.
It's a movie that's going to be released.
No, but what's it got to do with what we're talking about?
Because the people who made it will never see it. So it's the same thing as running an experiment you'll never see the ending of.
Is the movie going to come out in 200 years' time?
Possibly.
Oh my god. That makes no sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredibly stupid.
I think it's 100 years. Yeah, so it was our boy, John Malkovich, and the movie's release date is 18th of November, 2115.
What? Why?
The movie you'll never see.
Why? No, but why have they done that?
I don't know. I don't know the reasoning. Why does John Malkovich do anything? He's amazing.
Okay.
It was. Do you know who directed it?
No, I don't.
Robert Rodriguez.
I've never heard of it before.
Robert Rodriguez directed it.
They considered him to direct the 2001 Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, they considered a lot of people, including our boy Peter Jackson, Sir Peter Jackson.
Well, he was in the middle of doing something else at that time.
I wonder what that was. Something better. We are digressing quite a bit, and for once, I'm going to be the one with the lasso and wrangle us back.
Because I was going to say something related to the Peter Jackson situation.
There's new Gollum movies, and he's
No,
producer?
don't. I'm trying to stay on track. Stop getting further off track. No, I was going to say that, like...
About giant monkeys?
No, I had a thought when I was watching the 2001 Planet of the Apes, which is that part of the reason why it doesn't work is because there's no commitment from background actors. Because if you look at the Fellowship of the Ring, or Two Towers probably primarily, and you look at like Annie's scene with orcs or Uruk-hai in it, every single one of them, every single actor, background actor, is committed to being an orc or an Uruk-hai. If you watch the 2001 Planet of the Apes, you watch Tim Roth, you're like, this guy is dedicating his whole fucking body to being an ape. Like, he's pre-Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
But then, like, he goes and talks to, like, random background gorilla, and they're just, like, a man in a suit doing a normal voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, hey Bob, I'm a gorilla. And you're like, okay, there's zero commitment for this. And when you've got, like, one guy, and Michael Clark Duncan as well, fantastic gorilla. So you've got, and they're traveling together a lot of the time. But then like most of the rest, even the main cast of Apes are not doing. What is Helena Bonham Carter doing?
Being horny.
First of all, they changed that role. So she's Ari, who is the equivalent of Zira, and instead of her being a scientist,
She's
the
one
redeeming feature of any female character in the original movie. She's just like a spoilt, rebellious teenager who's the daughter of a senator.
And also the, like, weird
love interest of the villain?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's stupid, and she's just like a person being annoying.
I will agree on some points, but I will bring up the fact that the amount of work that went into this movie for teaching the actors how higher primates communicate with each other through touching, through their gestures. There's moments where they just like tap each other on the chest.
The amount of times that Tim Roth uses the backs of his knuckles to hit Michael Clark Duncan in the chest. I get it.
Yeah,
and he's being an ape.
Yeah, and there's lots of like the weird hand stuff and the weird face stuff,
and a lot of like 9-foot vertical leaps.
Oh, I'm going to get into that in a minute. It's absolutely like the amount of work that went into it. Like their costuming, their makeup is amazing. It's just the direction and the script that are the issues.
And also the speed of production. They were not given a lot of time to produce it. It's just, they ran into the same problems as the Hobbit films, where like the studio is like, make this film, you've got X amount of days to do it, and they're like, but it needs all this stuff. They're like, do it. So I think they filmed it in 90 days.
That is what,
And something ridiculous about it, about the actual filming of it, or the production of it. There was like a really tiny budget or something, or a really tiny. Oh, it was the release date. Fox, the studio.
Of course, it was Fox.
Were like, hey, you're gonna release this in July 2001, and they were like, cool, like it's already.
November.
Whatever. Yeah. How are we going to make it? And they're like, oh yeah, and it was 80 days. Sorry, it was shot over 80 days. And Tim Burton hated it so much because Yeah, so pre-production was rushed, editing was rushed, VFX all was rushed. And Tim Burton has said that he would rather jump out a window than ever direct a sequel to the film.
Yep.
Things like, though, like, you know, because we always talk, I just want to touch on this briefly, because we always talk about makeup hell in these kind of movies. I mean, when we talk about The Grinch, where he had to learn how to, you know...
He got taught by CIA.
To withstand torture.
Yeah.
Apparently with this one, Tim Roth, or the makeup artist, was the guy who was going to be putting it on, because in the original they're all wearing masks, and in 2001 it's all makeup and prosthetics and stuff, and the guy said that, like, I think Tim Roth just has resting bitch face. Yep. He thought that he was going to be like someone who was going to be really difficult to work with, and then when they were explaining the process of stuff, Tim Roth just was like, hey, is there any way that I can make this quicker and easier for you guys? And they were like, oh yeah, if you sit, like, really still, we can get it done really quickly. So Tim Roth was just like a statue every time they worked on him, and they got his makeup done within an hour and a half. Whereas Helena Bonham Carter was very fidgety and kept wanting to go for smoke breaks, and it took like 5 or 6 hours every day to do her makeup. Whereas Tim Roth is like, oh, if I sit really still, it makes it easier and quicker for you. Okay. And then just like, done.
Yeah, the mask thing in the original 68 is really weird and jarring at certain points.
Yeah.
There's a moment where one of the characters opens their mouth really wide and you get that weird... Have you seen the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, like, costume movies?
The 90s one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's like a sequence where it's like really famous where the camera's like zoomed in on one of the turtles' faces and you can literally see the guy inside screaming. There's a tiny man inside your mouth. What movie is that? Pontypool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a tiny man inside his mouth.
Also that weird...
Yeah, there is
a weird non-game that we saw someone playing the other day.
Oh, and the thingy from Kung Pao. Kung Pao?
What?
You know, where he's got the tongue thingy, and he sticks his tongue out, and there's got a little bleep on his tongue.
Anyway.
The thing we quote all the time, Chosen One, I'm coming! Chosen One, I'm coming! That. Anyway.
The first time I've heard that quoted, but okay.
Okay. Clearly someone doesn't watch the other stuff I make. The movie we were talking about, there's some weird jarring moments where you can see like the actor's actual mouth and teeth and stuff in the original. But like the
masks look good.
Yeah.
The masks have aged well. But they're clearly masks.
Yeah.
I think they did a really good job with them because it's not like super obvious, but like if you're watching it and it's the mouth movements I think are the real problem.
Yeah.
Because obviously their mouths are not moving properly in time with what they're saying, even though they obviously tried pretty hard to do that. So it gives them a little bit of a Muppety effect.
There are the amount of GIFs that are available on the internet that come from the 86 movie, 68 movie. Absolutely fantastic. And there's some weird ADR in there as well. That weird laugh he does.
Oh, yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's like the camera moves away from him and he's still laughing, and you're like, his mouth wasn't moving at the end of that when we went off screen. It's a very it's definitely, I wouldn't watch it every year, but like every 10 years, revisit it. It's okay. It's an enjoyable movie.
This is the 68 version.
Yeah, definitely don't watch the 2001 one. If you've seen it, watch it.
You can watch it once and just appreciate the amount of effort that
went into the costuming.
But I was going to say that and Tim Roth and Michael Clark Duncan put in. And no one else put in
Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti's a great actor. He freaked me out in this movie. There's something weird about him. But he's
supposed to be a sleazebag.
But both movies really seem to not know what orangutans look like. If you want to see an orangutan in a Planet of the Apes movie, watch the Rise of the Planet of the Apes. You know what I mean?
Aren't they all CG though?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is Andy Serkis. Not as an orangutan.
Caesar.
No!
You can talk.
Yeah. So anyway.
I can rebel! Sorry.
I mean, I'd say it's worth one watch.
Yeah.
For specific actors' performances. and to have a look at what what decisions were made in it.
Yes, the plot of the remake is very similar to your favourite fictional character, where
not John Crichton again.
John Crichton gets shot through a wormhole.
Mark Wahlberg in the role of John Crichton, I can see him do it. They're the same shitheads.
I'm a human. I'm better than everybody else. I'm gonna have sex with these alien
I don't know.
ladies.
Here's the thing that really pisses me off about the 2001 movie, right?
2001. Okay.
What really, really pisses me off about it is like, how were any of those people in space? None of the people that neither Mark Wahlberg nor any of the people.
Oh, sorry. I was like, where is she going with this? Because when you said 2001, I thought you were talking about 2001, the movie.
A Space Odyssey?
Yeah.
No!
And I was like...
It's got nothing to do with any of this.
Sorry, that was where my brain went.
No, the 2001 Planet of the Apes movie, movie we were discussing in this podcast.
Sorry.
So, Mark Wahlberg starts out on...
I got shot through a wormhole.
Starts out on a space
station next to Saturn.
With a bunch of people...
who are trying to teach chimpanzees how to fly spacecraft.
But, none of it makes any sense, and it really annoys me, because, I feel like if you watch The Martian, that's a good depiction of what actual astronauts are like.
Yeah. Resourceful, well-educated, respectful.
And really, willing to put themselves on the line to help each other.
Not speciesists.
Yeah, it's so all these people on this space station are stupid, first of all. Because that's the other thing, which is covered extensively in The Martian, the book, and also mentioned in the movie. And because Andy Weir did his fucking research, no one gets... He
annoyed the shit out of NASA.
Yeah. So no one gets sent on a space mission without having multiple areas of specialty where they were, one of the top in the field. You know what I mean? Because that's the whole thing. Mark Watney is A, trained as an astronaut, B, a highly specialized, a very accomplished botanist, and C, mechanical engineer, I think. Because they all have to be able to be backup to someone else if that person can't do something. So they all have multiple areas of specialty, in areas that are that require a lot of training, a lot of intelligence, a lot of discipline. Mark Wahlberg's one area is... teasing chimpanzees? No, his one area is be the pilot, and he can't even fly.
I don't even think his job is be the pilot. He feels like a pilot trainer.
Right.
So you have to be a pilot to train other pilots.
Yeah, but he can't fly, never mind train other pilots. Yeah. All he does is torture chimpanzees.
And the chimpanzees can fly better than Mark Wahlberg.
He hates... everyone else on the station. Everyone else on the station seems to hate each other. Yeah. They all hate the chimps. None of them are able to work with the chimps, even though, surely before any of them are sent on this mission, they would all be highly trained with the chimps to begin with.
Genetically engineered, because I think he says all the ones that were left alive on Earth were in zoos.
Right, yeah, so there's not a lot of chimpanzees.
So
chimpanzees have gone extinct in the wild in this by 2029.
And... I think the reason they're in space is because of the fact that they're genetically engineering chimps.
Right.
It's also very strange that their first response of hey, we've got this weird electrical storm that we've been chasing.
Let's send the chimp out into it?
Yeah.
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 It makes no sense.
The fact there only seems to be 3 crew members.
Yeah, and then also that he goes after the chimp, not because he gives a shit about the chimp, but because he's just angry that they didn't send a human pilot out to begin with, to fly into an unknown space cloud.
Yeah.
For no reason.
To get shot through a wormhole.
That they don't need to know anything, they don't need to do anything with.
Yeah.
So he's impulsive, he's arrogant, he's unintelligent, he's not good at his job, he's not good with other people, he doesn't like anyone on there, he doesn't seem to have a purpose. He is speciesist against the apes. Why is he there?
Here's a question.
He would never pass any training to get to that place.
Here's a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
On the spaceship, space station
thing.
So hang on.
It is a space station, and then he calls it a ship later on, which makes no sense.
On a space station, there is a moment where you see the weird housing facilities for the genetically engineered super chimps.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Did you at any point in time see an orangutan or a gorilla? Where the hell did they come from? The caring, the fact that they're far larger, the fact that they're mature at different rates, the fact that they never mentioned genetically engineering orangutans or gorillas.
That's so funny.
Did you
I didn't even think about it. They've reversed them. That's so stupid. Because that's my problem. That's the exact opposite of my problem with the original movie. Because in the original movie, they all look the same.
Yeah.
That they've got, and I mean, I understand that it's people in costumes.
They look the same, but they're treated different. The professor.
Yeah, there's a class system.
There's a class system, and Dr. Zayas is clearly supposed to be an orangutan because he's orange.
Yeah, but it's very at a glance you're not sure who's a gorilla, who the gorillas and the chimps are very hard to tell apart.
Yeah.
And then the orangutans as well.
Slightly shorter actors to play chimpanzees.
It's like these very varied types of apes have all evolved into a very similar thing.
Yeah.
They've all separately evolved into the same thing, which makes no sense. And in this other movie, we had only chimps, and they somehow have become gorillas and orangutans. And it would make so much more sense if it was the other way around.
But then you wouldn't have that weird coupling thing.
Oh no, with the where there's the weird montage and you go through a room where there's an orangutan and a chimpanzee trying to have a mating ritual.
It's the couple from the dinner scene, isn't it?
Yeah.
The other senator guy. Here's a question: why they don't have doors? They clearly have doors in some of the other sces.
I don't know.
But they can just run through people's bedrooms. They run through people's bedrooms. It's not it reminded me of Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
That's what it reminded me of. Just randomly running through doors
Benny
and
Hill
things.
or whatever.
Yeah. Things just happening. Yeah, Benny Hill, except there's not more chimpanzees chasing them. It's so weird. Yeah, that scene is fantastic, and probably the best part of the movie is when she comes out. There's a very hot and heavy couple. Clearly he's an orangutan, an older male orangutan. So he's got the full flabby neck thing going on, and he's very, very posh and proper. And I'm a senator, but I'm an orangutan senator. I'm better than the rest of you. And she's clearly a chimpanzee descendant who's super hot for him, and he's rubbing his jowly bits. And then the scene where they're Benny Hilling, that's copyrighted phrase I just come up with. When they were Benny Hilling, Benny Doing even, as in Scooby-Doo. Scooby Hilling. She comes out and she's clothed. Obviously because they weren't going to have, this isn't Howard the Duck. They're not going to be putting chimp titties in there. And she's covering a blanket over her face and walking. You can't see it, but I'm gesturing it now with the whole elbows out, at shoulder height. Back and forth. With the bow legs. And then she jumps up on the bed and then starts doing the whoop, 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 noises with flinging her arms back. And Lisa's smiling because I'm doing it in person. And then they Scooby Hill through the scene, and both of them do it a fucking 6-foot jump. Grab onto a chandelier which is barely held into the roof with it doesn't even look like chain.
I just screamed.
I'm gonna Google it because I don't know it off the top of my head.
What?
How heavy a fully grown male
orangutan is?
Orangutan
is? It's they're ridiculously heavy.
Between 50 and 90 kgs.
Yep.
So they are far larger than
only between 50 and 90 kgs.
Yeah.
What?
That's adult females. Adult males weigh between 50 and 90 kgs, so 110 or 198 pounds.
That's way lighter than I expected. That's like our weights are within there.
Yeah.
I thought they were way heavier than that.
But he's also man-sized. So, like, bone density, all of that stuff. Here's the other thing that really annoys me.
Have you never seen an orangutan in person?
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're 1.5 meters tall on average, which is, like, almost as tall as Mark Waltney's hate for Vietnamese people.
Orangutans weigh up to 130 kg. What were you looking at?
I guess incorrect information.
Okay. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway. What were you saying about them?
Oh, yeah, okay. Orangutans are not as powerfully built as gorillas, but are far larger than the chimpanzee. The adult male is typically twice the size of the female and may attain a height of 1.3 meters, 4.3 feet, and a weight of 130 kgs, 285 pounds. So yeah, they're pretty massive. So they're just in real life, chimpanzees, orangutan. What did we see? We saw chimpanzees at Dublin Zoo, right? There were chimpanzees. There were no orangutans. What were
we
they?
saw orangutans.
Yeah.
We've seen they have orangutans, chimpanzees, gorillas, gibbons.
Yeah.
Lots of primates. At Dublin Zoo.
Yeah, they were, pretty methodical, pretty slow moving. Just wanted
very intelligent.
Yeah, just.
Have you seen that video going around of the orangutan playing with otters?
No.
It's funny because there's like 6 otters that just keep like trying to creep towards it, and then it keeps hitting at them with a stick. It's like with like bamboo, like nothing that's gonna hurt them. And people were like, "Oh, those otters are really bothering that orangutan." It's like that orangutan can just get up and walk away. Yeah. The otters are bothering it. That orangutan is playing with them, but it has like a blanket, and the otters are trying to steal the blanket.
Of course.
So it's just like 5 otters like trying to sneak up an orangutan and steal its blanket, and it's like swishing at them with this bamboo stick.
Had a point, but I completely forgot what it was.
Was it that orangutans are cute in real life?
Yeah, they are. It's very sad of what we've done to their habitat.
Yeah.
Don't support palm oil.
Yeah, palm oil industry, bad.
Yeah. It's very sad. Moving on, I guess. Very cowboy-y feeling to 68. Obviously, Charlton Heston. For some my mind, it's that.
Well, it's sound. Also in a way, it's set in
the West.
Well, it's actually supposed to be. I mean, spoiler alert: it's set in the East,
it's set in the apocalypse.
Filmed in the West.
Spoiler alert!
It's set. What I was going to say is set in a desert area, which is why a lot of Westerns.
The wasteland.
A lot of Westerns are filmed around Arizona, Utah area.
Yeah, don't let the humans in. I do like that moment. Before the apes attack, where they're watching all the weird humans just like eating corn off the cob straight out of a field.
Yeah.
And Charleston Hest. Yeah. Taylor turns to his crewmates and is just like, if this is the best we got, we're going to be running this planet. I'd be more concerned about where the hell we are. How come there are humans on this planet? Yeah, why are there
humans here?
Yeah.
That's the big question.
The fact they can breathe. A lot of these things, like the fact that the water wasn't highly poisonous, acidic, or toxic, or infested with parasites. There are just, I love science fiction, but I like hard science fiction.
Yeah.
This is incredibly,
You gotta read that book I was just reading.
Yeah, I will. Incredibly soft science fiction, where it's just it kind of reminds me of the 70s Star Trek.
Yeah.
Where it's just every planet has the same Earth gravity.
The 70s Doctor Who, where every planet is a quarry in Wales.
Yeah, the same, chased by men who can't go upstairs. Except there's one group of men who can go upstairs, and they're the worst of them all. This idea of just landing on the thing is Planet of the Apes, the 2001 movie. They are on another planet. It's got way more moons, which I don't know if you know about moon science, and the theory going back to your creationism evolution theory, the theory of evolution not being allowed to be taught in schools because of pressures from certain religious groups. Gravity's just a theory, a film theory. And
don't say just a theory. Scientific theories.
Yeah. It's a theory. But here's the issue with it is the fact that you'd end up on a planet with multiple moons, their weird tidal forces, the likelihood of even plant life growing. It's like a whole thing because we've never found, in this day and age, still haven't found an actual planet. You know, you can do scans and be like, oh, well, this clearly has this, it's got an aura around it. We can check with our, microscopes and see in the different wavelengths that, it might have methane in the atmosphere, it might have oxygen, it might have this, that, and the other thing. But until the person stands on the ground and takes their helmet off and takes a big old deep breath and doesn't die instantly, we're stuck on this little blue marble.
What are your thoughts on the humans speaking in the remake?
The newer ones do a really good job.
The newer ones?
The Dawn Planet.
No, what we're talking
about. So, I'm just saying, so they went back to it and they give a legitimate reason. I don't know, I guess without it, it would have just been too close to the original for them, maybe. Maybe that was the idea. None of them have anything... Like, Chris Christopherson's in this movie, and I love Chris Christopherson. Mm-hmm. He does nothing except die.
Yeah, because I feel like it's weird, because I feel like they're trying to give Nova more agency, because in the original...
Nova? Movie, her name's not even Nova in the remake.
I thought her name was Nova.
No, she's not Nova. She's... what the hell?
Well, whatever her name is in the remake. She's the equivalent of Nova in the original. And Nova in the original is just, like... feral woman who want sex and follow Guy around, and and doesn't speak because the humans don't speak. And his whole thing is that like he's hurt his throat originally, so he can't speak, and they're like, oh,
he got shot in the neck.
They're like, oh, he looks like he's pretending to speak, and then it turns out he can speak.
He can talk.
Whereas then in the remake, the 2001 movie, not 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, I got that now.
The Nova equivalent, who I thought was still called Nova, but I guess not.
It's spelled Daena. Dana.
Okay.
She just exists to be eye candy, probably for promotional material.
Yeah, it's so stupid, because they clearly were like... I don't understand, right? Because, like, I feel like they looked at the original and they went, wow, this movie is a little bit sexist. And then when they remade it, they were like, well, we'll make the woman speak, and then we'll change the other female character. But instead, they just made them... Worse, yeah. And so she speaks, but is, like, pointless to anything.
She's literally for promotional material.
Also, like... So, here's the thing. We're getting... This is a movie endgame situation, but it's... Okay, the big spoiler for the remake of Planet of the Apes.
That came out 23 years ago.
Yeah. He finds he goes back to his little pod and he finds a tracking device, and he's like, oh my god, my space station is near here. You would have been able to see it. Stupid.
Can I just pause for a second? So that is one of the pivotal points. It is the stupidest part of the entire movie. He lands on a planet, and... he is in a spacesuit.
Yeah.
So that doesn't look like there's any, like, clearly there is, or otherwise it wouldn't work. They're in spacesuits, right? Because they're in space.
Yeah.
Inside a sealed pod.
Yeah.
And he crash lands in water. And he takes his spacesuit off.
Yeah. He's stupid.
So he can drown. And he doesn't take all the stuff out of his ship,
we've already established that he's very stupid. Anyway, he gets his tracker and he goes and finds the place, and it turns out it crashed on the planet too. But
and he's got his gun.
But like hundreds of years ago.
The guns are stupid. Continue.
Anyway, he gets there with these humans that he's kidnapped or like freed, a mixture of both. Like tame, domesticated human slaves that have been essentially kidnapped and brought along for the ride, and also wild humans that he's freed from captivity. The only people who know he's escaped are the humans who are with him and the apes who are chasing him.
Yeah.
They get to this place, and then he realizes his people aren't coming for him because they already came because the wormhole sent them back further in time. They created the whole population on this planet, blah, blah, blah.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Also doesn't make sense because it sounds like all the humans were killed and yet suddenly there's humans. But also, they're there and he's like, oh, you know, we have to give up because they're not here. And then they go outside and like all of the wild humans from all of the tribes show up and he's like, what's happening? And they're like, oh, the news has spread. It's like, who spread the news?
Yeah.
Who told them? Because those people didn't like go off and tell people. They stayed with him the whole time. And the apes aren't going around telling human tribes, oh, there's a human savior that you can go for. Like, what? How did the word spread?
Yeah.
How did the word spread?
It's bad writing.
It makes zero sense. It's absolute bullshit, nonsense, ridiculous.
Jesus. He's man Jesus.
I'm just gonna launch into the endings. If you haven't seen the original Planet of the Apes, and this is a spoiler for you, I'm sorry. But the end of the movie is he gets away from the apes, and then discovers he was on Earth all along.
Yeah.
And they blew it up. They blew it all up. You gonna do the actual quote?
Yeah. Because the actual quote's amazing.
Go for it.
It's like the best part of it's the most quoted part of the entire movie, other than Dr. Zaius, the song with Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius.
Oh, Dr. Zaius.
Okay.
Dr. Zaius.
Go on to what the quote.
You did it! You maniacs! You blew it up! Damn you all to hell! And then Nova's just standing there going, it's just a metal thing, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
Until the 5 sequels.
Yeah, ridiculous. Anyway, the remake. So they are really on a different planet.
Yeah. Samus turns up, who's their ape deity, but it's actually just... No, not Seymour. Sorry,
It's the chimp. No, because their ape deity is actually one of the apes or the chimps that was on.
Yeah,
on
but
the
it was
crash
like
thing.
they had the whole I'm coming back Jesus thing.
And
so
it's
there's
the
two Jesuses. It's Jesus versus Jesus.
The way it works is the wormhole does
time stuff.
Yeah, but it's like the way like your eye translates light, that it goes upside down and then your brain switches it. The monkey, oh my god, now I'm the racist. The ape,
pulling a Wahlberg.
The first chimp goes through the wormhole first.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg goes through pretty much immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
And then I think from the logs a couple of months later, the ship follows them through.
Yeah.
Because the ship waited months, they go through, they appear at the other side in inverse order, and the time is stretched.
Yeah.
So because the ship went through last and there was a big gap, there's hundreds of years that it arrived before him. He arrives next hundreds of years later, and then because there was a smaller gap between him and the chimp, it's only a couple of days or whatever, and then the chimp arrives in last. Yeah. But he lands his pod because he's a better pilot than Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg uses it to fly back through the wormhole. I love that he's like, oh, I can track where the wormhole came from. And it's like, dude, like, that would be incredibly highly visible in the night sky here because it's, like, right next to the planet and it's a massive, like, space cloud.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets back in it, goes back to Earth, and because of the weird timey-wimey bullshit, Thade obviously goes in after him, arrives before him, he gets to Earth, it's run by apes.
Yeah. Here's several questions.
Yep.
How
to which part?
How did he, okay, so they talk about, so that was the original movie. They joke about the fact that the flight is impossible.
Well, also in the remake, they make it very obvious that Thade's henchmen found Mark Wahlberg's original pod.
Yeah.
And then he killed them, and then when Mark Wahlberg goes to find it, they're there.
Yeah.
Presumably some amount of time has passed in the meantime, and Thade has gone back and managed to get it working.
Yeah.
Or used the chimp that they left on that planet, who knows how to fly them.
But how did he get everybody there?
He didn't have to get everybody there.
So you're telling me that he became Ape Lincoln?
Yeah. He became Ape Lincoln. That's the Ape
Lincoln statue. Entire human,
No, we already know, as you've said, that they were genetically modifying chimps.
The only ones that are genetically modified are the ones on the space station.
How do we know there's not more than one space station out there?
But it's not, you're talking about...
They're not going to put all of their... If chimps are extinct in the wild, they're not putting all of their genetically modified chimps in one place.
How do you know that? Is it explained in the movie?
No. None of this is explained in the movie.
Exactly.
You're asking me for theories. I'm telling you my theories.
No, I'm asking you how it happens in the movie.
We don't know. It's not...
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not explained.
Sorry, I thought you wanted to have a discussion. That's alright, we won't. That's the end then, I guess.
It's a dumb ending. It's like, yeah, I understand how they like wrote it, but I'm just
closer to the book.
Okay. So
in the book, they're not on Earth.
Wasn't Earth all along?
No, the author was annoyed that they put that in, that they changed the ending to that in the original movie.
Finally made a monkey out of me.
Yeah. In the book, it was a different planet that had evolved in that way, and then when he goes back to Earth, which he does at the end of the book, he finds that the same evolution has happened on Earth, and Earth now also is run by apes.
Right.
This obviously didn't quite do that, but they obviously borrowed inspiration from that part of the book, and just, and it sounds like they had multiple different potential endings, but they've done it, used their weird wormhole shit to send Thade back to get back before him.
The issue is like his dad is the person who's really important. Cameo of Charlton Heston in the 2001 one.
Yeah, no, this is Thade's dad, Tim Roth's character's dad, not obviously Marky Mark's dad.
Yeah. He is defeated at the end they lock him inside a room, and he basically has a tantrum shooting bullets, which aren't bullets because they bounce and explode. It's very confusing just everything about the guns in that movie suck, from a gun point of view.
Also, isn't there like a bit where like the gun just changes into a different gun in his hand?
Yeah, that did happen in the movie, which is very confusing. How does he take over Earth?
I don't know.
But why? Like, if he's lost all his, they work in a system. Like,
none of it makes sense.
So much work was done into how chimpanzees and orangutans and gorillas interact with each other socially.
Yeah, but as you've already pointed out, there's no explanation for how those species even existed in the first place on that planet.
He was defeated. They're all like, okay, we're just going to put no gravestones, so everybody here died as equals. Both the chimps and the humans. Mm-hmm. Or the apes and the humans. We all live together in society now. We live as a society. And, it's supposed to be
and then somehow Thade gets into the pod and gets back to Earth and colonizes Earth as one chimp.
Yeah.
The end.
Becomes Abe Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln.
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln. Yep.
You blew it up. Yeah, no. Bad.
But also, like, Mark Wahlberg flying into Earth
makes
no sense.
Don't, no, okay.
Because when he starts to come in, he just shoots through space at, like, ridiculous speed without having any kind of G-force is exerted on him.
It's not even
and then he just, like, goes through the atmosphere and there's, like, people...
Crash lands in, like, Washington, D.C.
Just for no reason. It's like, I'm going to land my thing, like, in the middle of a city where I could
But it's, like, 70s technology.
What?
The cars, the handguns, uniforms, the motorbikes, the helicopters that are
the
used.
Apes have done?
Yeah, it all looks like the 70s. So, they were trying to make a point. But, I watch a lot of movies. You watch a lot of movies. I'm pretty sure our fans who are listening right now with their pretty little ears watch a lot of movies. Why did it revert to the 70s?
Well, probably because in the original movie, when it was Earth that was taken over...
All along.
Yeah, when it was Earth all along. They were at primitive technology. Or not primitive, but like older technology. Because the humans have come from the 70s, but the apes' living conditions are more like the 40s or 50s.
Yeah, but
And their society is more like that. So I imagine they were just trying to do an ode to that with like, oh, the apes haven't had as long to whatever. But it doesn't make any sense because all that stuff already would have existed.
and it was in the future.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it was 2029 when he left, and then it would be even later than that when they got there. It's stupid.
Yeah.
So that's the answer, is that it's stupid.
It's a brilliant answer, and no one can deny it.
But here is a suggestion. Here's a suggestion.
Okay.
Maybe it was like the book. Maybe at the same time that he was in the wormhole on the other planet, the apes that were already on Earth were already evolving and taking over, and then Thade arrived and became like a messiah for them.
Ape Lincoln.
Yeah, Ape Lincoln.
So he... But the problem... See, doesn't really work with Lincoln.
No,
he's clearly
that's
in the
just because
Lincoln...
they wanted to do something like the Statue of Liberty, so another like iconic American statue.
He would have been...
Mount Rushmore would have been better.
That's what I was just about to say, right?
Mount Rushmore with all apes.
Yeah,
yes,
would have been way better.
That's a much better. It makes no sense for him to crash. It would make way more sense for him to crash land randomly in North Dakota or South Dakota, whichever Dakota that's in.
not the fact that he didn't get shot down by anti-air.
Yeah, and then he also just like is like crash land. Yeah. Oh my god.
What?
I've made a realization.
But
it was released in July 2001.
Okay.
So it's a pre 9/11 crash aircraft crashing into the Washington D.C. area. July 2001.
So what you're saying is Tim Burton did 9/11. Tim Burton and Kermit worked together. Kermit stopped Tim Burton from causing 9/11 in our universe.
Do you know what? I think I feel like it has actually been a while since I mentioned 9/11 on the podcast, so we can bring back out our favorite reaction image or favorite meme back to our meme channel.
It's been 0 episodes since we talked about 9/11.
Yeah. But sorry, my point with that actually was that like there would have been less lax security of and things to shoot them. Like, I mean, I think after 9/11 he would have been shot down instantly. Anyway.
It was very interesting, but I won't go into that now. Like the mindset that changed because it was like this, the hostages were the leverage, so people didn't expect, the government agencies didn't expect people to use the hostages to do the things they were going to do.
Yeah.
But now you if you hijack a plane, they're just going to shoot you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That's why no planes have been hijacked. You can't take liquids on a plane anymore.
Or pointy things or whatever. Like there's so many...
like pointy things.
Though I know someone who
traveled
on flights and then only realized when they got to where they were going.
They had an entire samurai sword.
No, a scalpel in their pocket.
I think that's small enough to get through, though.
I don't think you're allowed to travel with a scalpel in your pocket. How did they get past metal detectors? Maybe
it's made out of obsidian.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, weird. Anyway, sidetracked. Is there more you want to say about the movies themselves, or do we want to get into trivia?
No, I don't. I think I'm pretty sure. God. Pretty sure we're all good.
Just so everyone knows at home, I did not pitch shift the audio just there. That's just what Nick's
voice did. She's lying.
That's what Nick's voice just did. It was shocking.
I have a wide range of tones I can use for your enjoyment. Continue on with your trivia and interesting tidbits.
Some trivia. Trivia and tidbits. Some tidbits and trivia. Sure. So here's a weird fact about the 1968 Planet of the Apes. It was released the day before Martin Luther King was killed.
Okay.
There you go. That's a weird piece of trivia, right? Released the day before the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
George Washington.
Yeah, what about him?
The issue that I have with the whole fact that it's Lincoln is Washington was the one that had the Revolutionary War. Lincoln had the Civil War.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Well done, Tim.
It's just they wanted a statue. There's no big statue of Washington around there, except for his head on Mount Rushmore, which should have been where they did it. We've agreed this now. Mount Rushmore was better. They should have got in the writers of the National Treasure movies who would have been able to be like, no, this is the iconic place you need to go. So here's a weird thing. This is a weird thing about what?
Sorry, I was just laughing. You maniacs! You stole the Declaration of Independence!
But still on the 1968 film, all of the ape actors, including extras, were required to keep their masks on even during breaks in between shots, because it took a lot of time to do the makeup to like bridge the gap between mask and skin. So they had to their meals were all liquefied and drank through straws. But also, something that wasn't required but naturally happened was that they segregated themselves by species. Oh. So all the chimp actors ate together, all the gorillas ate together. No,
species.
And all the orangutan. Just naturally they gravitated toward. So I just find that fascinating. That there should have been some kind of
Stanford prison experiment.
Yeah, some kind of study done about why the people just naturally gravitated towards the other chimps or the other.
Do you know toddlers do it?
Gravitate towards chimps?
No, gravitate towards people of the same racial profile as themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yes. Because it's they do that before they do gender.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why, on playgrounds, boys and girls will be friends, but then, as you get older, they kind of segregate.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently the guy who did the score of the movie, the composer, Jerry Goldsmith, chose to wear a gorilla mask while he was writing and conducting the score because he wanted to be better in touch with the movie.
What a weirdo!
Yeah, and that's how it came out. He was the first atonal score in a Hollywood movie.
We have to make this soundtrack.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? I'm gonna wear a gorilla mask.
Wear a gorilla mask the whole time.
And nothing else. The
guy who made or pioneered, he made the makeup effects that were used in the film, John Chambers. He based it on a technique that he had developed during World War II to give disfigured veterans a normal appearance.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
For the work that he did.
And also there were several other productions happening in Hollywood at the same time that were delayed because all of Hollywood's top makeup artists worked on Planet of the Apes. They just got them all in one film. And then they ended up using some of the leftover makeup supplies on a bunch of other films. They also, because they were filming in a really desolate location, they had to carry all their equipment in every day by mule or on foot.
That's awful, yeah.
Yeah. Adjusted for inflation, it has the world record for the highest makeup budget. So it was at the time, it was $345,542 went on the makeup budget, which was 17% of the total budget of the film went on makeup. And the other thing I have for that film was that the famous "see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil" shot.
Yeah.
And when the jury, when the judges of the trial are
heresy
doing the hear no
Inquisition.
Evil. Yeah, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. So they were just doing it as a joke, and it wasn't supposed to actually make it into the film, but they included it in a test screening with an audience, and the audience loved it. So then they were like, oh, we'll leave it in. The 2001 movie, not 2001 A Space Odyssey, I need to stress again.
I don't know where my brain went. So,
So the female chimpanzees have eyebrows in it, and the male ones don't. Originally, the female chimpanzees also didn't have eyebrows, but
they weren't sexy enough for Tim Burton?
No, they just, like, unsettled everyone when they had no eyebrows. They just made everyone uncomfortable, so they
Here's
put
a
the
fun
eyebrows on
fact
them.
for you.
It's not like the Avatar titties.
Sorry, you had me at Avatar titties. The Tim Burton.
The Tim Burton.
He was in a relationship with another lady,
Mm-hmm.
and then he wasn't anymore, and started pursuing Helena Bonham Carter.
Well, during this movie.
Yeah.
Because you asked me that while we were watching it. You were like, oh, was this before? You said, oh, that's his wife. And I said, not at this point. You were like, oh, is this before or after?
Yeah.
This was the movie.
Yeah.
While she was an ape.
Yeah.
While she was an ape, Tim Burton was like, that's who I want to marry. And then he was like, let's do it. Let's do this. So I think Tim Burton was just like horny for apes.
Yeah. Well, her character is I'm horny for humans.
Her whole it was like a stand-in, I think, for just Tim Burton being horny.
Yeah.
I think he was projecting that he was, because he I think he just liked how the ape makeup looked, and then he was like, oh, we gotta make these, because also like they really didn't want that to happen. Fox didn't want Fox literally had to veto a human-ape romance because they kept trying to put it in.
Oh my god.
And, like, even to the point that they were like, no, I don't even want them to have a proper platonic relationship because you're still implying romantic feelings there. But the final film, she's still clearly horny for the human.
Yeah.
So it's...
At least in the first one, she's just like, yeah, I'll kiss you, but you are hideously ugly.
Yeah, well, she was planned to be the romantic interest for Mark Wahlberg in the movie. And 20th Century Fox were like, absolutely fucking not. You are not using our money to make a weird bestiality ape movie. So that's fun.
Bestiality only counts if it's I don't know.
Anyway, we already kind of talked about a bunch of the rest of the stuff, I think. Yeah, I think I've talked about all the rest of the stuff. So that's about all the interesting things to say about that movie. Like I said, worth watching only for the performances of Tim Roth and Michael Clark Duncan and maybe Paul Giamatti. But like,
and the weird horniness.
I don't know. I feel like this is the foot fetish movie. You know what I mean? Like this is Tim Burton's equivalent to
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. Exactly.
Quentin Tarantino wrote a scene where a vampire poured whiskey down her leg and made someone drink from her toes, and then he cast himself in that role.
Yeah, exactly.
And that vampire queen was Salma Hayek.
Whereas Tim Burton didn't cast himself in the role of like man that the ape was falling in love with, but he did then like just actually marry her.
Yeah. And they live in separate houses, and he always just cast Johnny Depp to be her romantic partner.
Yeah, are they
weird projecting there.
I thought they weren't married anymore.
I don't know. I don't really keep up with,
I don't know.
Hollywood stories. Because most of them are degenerates.
True.
Most. Not all, but most.
I didn't look up budgets and box offices, because these movies are...
One cost 5 and made 30, and the other one cost like 100 and made 300. There you go. I'll let you guess in the comments below.
$100.
Which one was which? $100 million. $100 million. Thank you for joining us on this weird roller coaster of people who don't deserve your money and chimpanzees.
Yeah, just to reiterate, don't give your money to J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Please, I am begging you, if you care at all
about children,
about women, about trans people, about queer people, about anyone that is in your life who is one of those things or maybe one of those things, even if you don't know it, if you give one iota of a shit about that, do not give that woman your money or your time.
You can find us everywhere on the internet. We're in every corner of the internet.
You cannot escape us, in fact, on the internet.
like
Everywhere you go
Matrix.
on the internet, we can see you.
No,
we are watching.
No, that's not true. And also terrifying. The internet is a bunch of tubes. Tubes are round. The internet is round. You can find us on our website.
I'm sorry, what was any of that you just said?
It's the truth, man. Just like
the internet is.
You don't understand, man.
It's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, you're gonna smoke weed and hang out with the chimp peoples, man. They're like people like us.
The chimps.
Yeah, until they rise up and take over.
Until they rise up and have a dawn and a war and whatever the new one is that I forgot.
I think it's war.
No, War was the previous one. War is the third one.
Right.
I haven't seen War. I've seen Rise and Dawn. I haven't seen War.
I think I have them on DVD. I don't remember.
There's another one out now at the moment. I was going to say Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. That's not right. I think that is one of the original ones.
That's one of the original ones.
That's one of the...
that's actually... We're going to play a fun game before we go. Sorry, folks. You can play at home. You can play at home too.
You're doing the Actually thing, are you?
Yeah, we're...
Am I going to have to... Are you going to name them and I have to tell you what order they're in? Or are you going to name them and I have to tell you if they're real or not?
Or
something else.
Combination. Okay.
This is terrible.
Oh my god. Okay. What is the sequel to the 89 one called?
I think Conquest. I think Conquest is the next one.
Negative.
Oh, beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Okay. One of my favourite movie series that we covered for one of my birthdays is what? What's the second one?
Terminate the Planet of the Apes.
Escape
from
Planet of the Apes. Conquest is next.
Conquest is next. I knew there was a Conquest.
And what's the one after that? From 1973.
Above the Planet of the Apes.
It's more closer to one of the new series.
Sunrise of the Planet of the A War for the Planet of the Apes. No.
Close. What happens in wars?
Battle for the Planet of the Apes. I did know that one. I did know that was one.
There was also a television series.
Oh my god.
So yes, with Andy, it's Rise.
Rise, Dawn, War, and then there's a new one that's literally in cinemas right now.
You have a monarchy.
King of the Planet of the Apes. King Kong of the Planet of the Apes.
King Kong versus the Planet of the Apes.
And then it's just Andy Serkis versus Andy Serkis.
Yeah. Versus Gollum versus that guy who
all I can think is, because you said monarchy, all I can think of is monarchy.
Unobtainium. What the fuck is it called? Virandium? No.
Vibranium?
Vibranium. Unobtainium. Get fucked.
Adamantium.
Mithril. It's worth more than the entire Shire. It's also Legolas's baby clothes.
Kingdom. Can you imagine? Kingdom.
Kingdom of the Battle of the Apes.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
What did I say?
Battle. Kingdom of the Battle of the
Kingdom
Apes.
of the Conquest of the Battle beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Is that going to be the one where Thade shows up and is like, hey, I left Marky Mark back on my planet. Can I join yours?
No. He becomes Abomination and fights
the Hulk?
Tim Burton. Not Tim Burton.
It's Tim Burton.
Bruce Banner.
Ed Norton.
Yeah.
And Liv Tyler is there, and so is Legolas.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it happens with Tim Burton watching Helen Bonham Carter kiss Johnny Depp on the Black Pearl. It's going to cost $500 billion and put the entire planet into financial debt. Who do we owe money to? Fucking Mars, where you'll find Mark Watney.
Oh my god! It just keeps going.
Thank you for joining us. We're on every platform where you can find other streaming services. Please share with friends. Join our Discord. Go to our website.
itttakes2.co.nz.
It costs us money. Please do it. Woo! Thank you for listening to this rambly ramble.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Peace. Peace for the Planet of the Apes.